Hey guys, welcome back. This is Naresh. So this video is a continuation of our Selenium interview questions. And now the next question is, what are the different types of framework? All right. So you know already that whenever we are working on a project, we need to work on different frameworks. So they may ask you what are the types of framework. So you can just explain that there can be a data-driven framework, there can be a keyword-driven testing framework, it can be a hybrid framework, or it can be a BDD framework, that is behavior-driven development framework. Okay, and if they ask you specifically what is data-driven testing framework, then you need to answer that this is a framework which helps you to segregate the test script logic and the data from each other. Okay, it lets you store your test data into an external database, and the data is conveniently stored in key value pair. Thus, they can be used for the access and populate the data within the test scripts. So whenever there is any data required within the scripts, you don't have to put the data directly into the scripts. You can segregate the data. You can put it somewhere else. For example, you can put the data in Excel sheet, or you can put the data in some kind of a property file, and you can use a key value pair in that. Okay, so you can give a key, you can give a value of that, and you can use that key value pair when you are inside the data-driven testing framework. And what is keyword-driven testing framework? So the keyword-driven testing framework is an extension to the data-driven testing framework in the sense that it not only segregates the test data from the script, it also keeps certain set of code belonging to the test scripts into the external data file. So what does it mean that in the keyword-driven testing framework, you do not use Excel sheets only to get the data for the script, but sometimes what happen, you also specify the keywords on the basis of that your certain code will run. Okay, for example, if in the Excel sheet you say open and then give a browser name as as google.com, so open is a key, right? On the basis of that key, there's some part of a code which get executed into your scripts. So on the basis of the key, your scripts is getting executed. So that is called the keyword driven testing framework. So I will create a detailed video for this keyword driven testing framework, which we have not created yet. We have gone through the data-driven testing framework in which we were reading the Excel file for some data, but for keyword, I will create a separate video. Okay, for hybrid testing framework, I have already explained one of my video in which you can say that hybrid framework is one kind of a combination in which we use different methodologies for the data driven, for keyword driven. So everything which is in one framework, like the data driven, keyword driven framework, that is called a hybrid, because in this we use the property files, we use the Excel files, we use other things also. Okay, so mostly in companies they use a hybrid testing framework. What is BDD framework? So it's a behavior driven development framework, and it allows automation of the functional validation in easily readable and understandable format to the business analyst and developers. So in the BDD, it is very easily readable. So if I give an example, so how it is written. Okay, so for example, whenever we need to write any test cases, we write in, GWT format. So it should be given when then we call it. Okay, so whenever we write any test case, we write in plain simple language. So we give something like given, for example, I can give Chrome, I have opened the browser when I log in with the valid username and password, then I am able to log in successfully. All right. So this is a way, you can give in plain English language. You need to give your test case in plain English language, and our text will execute these statements. And once these statements executed, these statements gets converted. They call the correct code, and on the basis of that, your scripts get executed. So that's what it has written, that it is an easily readable and understandable format to the BA developers, testers, etc. Okay, and many times I have seen that these kinds of scenarios are even written by the BA because they can write these kinds of scenarios, and then we just need to write a code for that, and we need to run these scenarios by our own. Okay, so that is called the BTT. All right, how can I read the test data from the Excel? So there is definitely you can see that video. That is very one of the interesting video in which we are reading the Excel using POI API. Okay, so there's an API called POI which you can use to read the Excel. We can also use the JXL API, but that is the old one. POI is the latest API through which you can read the Excel files. Okay. Can CAPTCHA be automated? No, CAPTCHA and barcodes reader cannot be automated. So I have seen nowadays there are some third-party APIs which helps you to read the barcode, but still CAPTCHA cannot be automated through Selenium. Okay. What type of test you have automated? So if somebody asks you that what type of test you have automated, so in Selenium you can automate something like a regression testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, and sometime also on the basis of project you need to automate some end-to-end testing. All right. Is Firefox driver a class or interface? So just remember Firefox driver is a class, and it is implementing the WebDriver interface. Okay. What is the super context of WebDriver? So the super context is search context. So search context is the main interface, and after that they have some child interface, and one is, that is WebDriver. It's the child interface of a super context. All right. Just remember it. You don't have to really use it, but just remember it. All right. Next question, we do create a reference variable driver of the type WebDriver, like something like driver equal to new Firefox driver. What is the purpose of doing that way? So why we do something like that, driver equal to new Firefox driver? Because we can also do something like Firefox driver equal to new Firefox driver. Then why we are using an interface and then a class? Okay. So if we create a reference variable driver of type WebDriver, then we can use the same driver variable to work with any browser of our choice. So see, if in Java, if you have read about something like dynamic polymorphism, so this is an example of the dynamic polymorphism. So what you are doing here, you are giving a reference variable of an interface, and then you are giving a class. So what it benefits give you, for example, in future, if you want to, instantiate a Chrome driver, so you don't have to change your reference variable. You can use the same reference variable. You can just change this line on the basis of the parameters. You can give an if else condition on the basis of the parameters. You can just, instantiate a different classes, but your reference of the object will remain the same. So that is called a dynamic polymorphism. Okay, so what is fluent weight? So you can say that fluent weight is one kind of explicit weight in which you can give certain conditions, which and you can even customize those conditions on the basis of which you can wait for an element. You can also poll. The main advantage is you can poll that, for example, in explicit weight, by default polling is 500 milliseconds. That after every 500 milliseconds, it's just check that your element has came or not to the maximum time we have given in the explicit weight. But in fluent weight, you can customize this poll also. You can customize that after how many seconds you need to check. Maybe after you want that every after 100 milliseconds, you have to check that the element has came on the web page or not. And if you want to ignore some specific exceptions, you can do that into the fluent weight. Okay, so just remember that. How to input text in a text box without calling a send key. So send key is one of the way through we can input the text. So first, how do we do that? You can do that through the JavaScript executor. So first we need to initialize our JavaScript using JavaScript executor. Okay, we need to cast our driver into the JavaScript executor. All right, into the JS. So just ignore this web. It should be a driver here. So you need to cast into the JavaScript, and then you can call the execute script method of a JavaScript. Then you have to provide a JavaScript, to set some values. So what you can do, you can give document dot get element by ID. You can give the ID of that element, and then you can call dot value method, and then equal to Selenium. So it will set Selenium text into that element user. Okay. How to pause the test scripts for execution for 5 seconds? So if you want to pause your scripts for 5 seconds, you can do .thread.sleep. All right. What is the difference between driver.get and driver.navigate.to URL? So I have already explained you to open a URL, and it will wait for the whole page till the page gets loaded. But in driver.navigate.to, it will not wait for the whole page to get loaded. Okay, and we'll move to the next statement. How can we maximize browser window in Selenium? To maximize the browser window with Selenium, you can use a maximize method. All right. And how to delete the cookies in Selenium? So you have to use a delete all cookies. So driver.manage.delete all cookies. What are the ways to refresh a browser using Selenium WebDriver? So there are multiple ways to refresh a page in Selenium. So you can use driver.navigate.refresh. You can use driver.getURL, and you can again use driver. Use driver.get.current URL. Okay, so what you need to do, for example, it says URL. So first you can use driver.get.current URL. It will get you the current URL, and then you can store it into some URL string, and then you can pass that URL here, driver.get.url. So that is one of the way. And you can also mix some of these methods. You can give driver.navigate.to, and you can give a text URL there, and you can get a URL through driver.navigate.to, and under that you can get driver.get URL. So we are just mixing all these methods to refresh it. Other way, which I have seen in my projects also, we also use send keys command. Okay, and like for example, you give send keys command for the element, and then you can give keys.f5, so that will also refresh your web page. All right, so thank you for watching this video. Now we will see some more interesting question in our next video. Okay, if you like the video, please hit on the like button and share the video. So there are some more videos, more questions which I am coming up, which can help you to crack your Selenium interviews. All right, thank you for watching.